No maid could work for the billionaire's new wife for more than a week. She was beautiful, but her words could cut deeper than a knife. Some maids left crying, some left without pay, and others left broken forever. Then one day, a poor young woman came, holding her last hope in her hands. She needed this job to survive. No one knew that she would do something no maid had ever done before, and it would change the mansion forever. But when the truth came out, every single person in that house was left speechless. You will not believe what she did next. The mansion's golden gate stood taller than any building Maria had ever entered. She clutched her worn handbag, feeling the rough edge of her resume inside. Her shoes, scuffed and faded, whispered against the marble driveway as she walked toward the massive double doors. She had not eaten a real meal in 2 days. Every cent she had left was in her pocket, barely enough for the bus ride home. This job was her last chance. The door swung open, and a tall woman with cold eyes and flawless makeup stood there. "You're late," the woman said sharply, her lips curling into a smirk. I am here at the time I was told," Maria answered softly, her voice trembling. The woman looked her up and down, as if inspecting something unworthy. "We will see if you last longer than the others. Most do not make it past 3 days." Maria followed her inside. The mansion sparkled with chandeliers, polished floors, and walls covered in priceless paintings. But the beauty was shadowed by something darker, a tension that made the air feel heavy. Her first task was to clean the grand dining room. Maria worked quickly but carefully, her hands steady even though her heart raced. As she wiped the long oak table, she felt eyes on her. She looked up. The woman, the billionaire's wife, was standing in the doorway, sipping tea and watching her like a hawk. "You missed a spot," she said flatly. Maria checked, but the table was spotless. She nodded and quietly cleaned the same spot again. By the end of the day, Maria's back ached, but she refused to complain. She needed this job too badly. But as she headed toward the servants' quarters, she overheard 2 other maids whispering. "Poor thing," one said. "She doesn't know what happened to the last girl." "What happened?" the other asked. "She left in the middle of the night, crying. Said she saw something in the master's study. Something no maid should see." Maria paused, her hand tightening on the banister. She did not know it yet, but she was about to find out exactly what that something was. The next morning, Maria arrived with a gentle smile and a tray of breakfast. She knocked softly and entered the room. The new wife, Vanessa, sat by the window in a silk robe, staring out at the garden without a word. "I made you something light, in case you are not feeling hungry," Maria said quietly. Vanessa did not even look at her. "Leave it there. And close the door." Her tone was cold, sharp enough to make most maids hurry away. But Maria simply placed the tray down, bowed her head, and left without complaint. Days passed, and the house remained tense. Vanessa barely spoke, and when she did, it was often to criticize, "Too much sugar in my tea," or "These sheets are too rough." Every maid before had taken offense and quit within a week. But Maria never raised her voice. She kept working, quietly noticing something strange. Whenever Vanessa thought no one was watching, she would hold her stomach and wince in pain. Her eyes, behind all the makeup and fine clothes, carried a deep sadness. One night, as Maria was cleaning the kitchen, she overheard Vanessa speaking on the phone in a shaky voice. "I cannot keep this from him forever," she whispered. "But if he finds out, I will lose everything." Maria froze, her heart pounding. What was she hiding? And why did it sound like a secret that could destroy her marriage? Something told Maria this was not about arrogance or cruelty. This was about pain, the kind you hide until it breaks you. But Maria did not yet know that this secret would soon put her in the middle of a storm that could ruin lives. The next morning, Maria arrived early, ready to clean as usual. But when she stepped into the mansion, she found Isabella sitting on the floor, crying. Maria froze for a moment. She had seen Isabella angry, proud, and cold, but never broken. Isabella's voice trembled. "He does not love me, Maria. He still loves his late wife. I have everything, and yet I have nothing." Maria slowly knelt beside her. "Maybe you do not need to fight for his love. Maybe you need to show him your own. Those simple words made Isabella stare at her. No one had ever spoken to her like that, without fear, without pretending. For the first time, Isabella let someone hold her hand. From that day, something began to change. Isabella stopped throwing insults and started asking about Maria's life. She learned Maria had a sick son, Matteo, who needed expensive medicine. One afternoon, Maria came in to find Isabella sitting quietly with a photo in her hand. It was a picture of Matteo that Maria kept in her cleaning cart. "Tell me about him," Isabella whispered. Maria did. She spoke of his laughter, his dreams, and his pain. And Isabella listened, truly listened. Still, the rest of the household thought Maria's kindness would fail like all the others before her. No maid had lasted more than a month with Isabella. Everyone believed it was only a matter of time before Maria left. But Maria had no intention of leaving. Because for some reason, she could see through Isabella's armor. And she suspected there was a reason Isabella had built it in the first place. And one night, the truth would come crashing out. Evelyn stood in the middle of the grand living room, her hands trembling as the truth poured out. The billionaire, Alexander, stared at her as if the floor beneath him had just cracked open. His voice was barely above a whisper. "You are the one who..." "Yes," Evelyn said, her eyes glistening. "The child I lost was yours." The words hit him like a punch to the chest. His knees buckled, and for a moment, he had to grip the edge of a chair to steady himself. Memories from over a decade ago flooded his mind, her face, her laughter, the way she had once looked at him before betrayal had stolen it all away. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice cracking. Evelyn's lips trembled. "Because when I came to you back then, your new wife told me I was nothing. That you had moved on. That you wanted me gone. I was carrying your child, Alexander, and I begged for your help. But she pushed me out of your life." Alexander's hands shook violently. "My God," his voice broke. "She told me you left for someone else. She said you wanted money to disappear." "I left with nothing," Evelyn whispered. "I raised our daughter alone, until I could not anymore. Evelyn's voice cracked into a sob. She died, because I could not afford the surgery. If I had told you, maybe she'd still be alive. But I believed your silence meant you didn't care." Alexander's heart felt as though it had been ripped from his chest. His world blurred as tears filled his eyes. He staggered backward, unable to breathe, while the current wife, the woman who had lied to him, stood frozen, her face pale with fear. "You killed my family," Alexander roared, his voice trembling with rage. "Not with your hands, but with your lies." The wife opened her mouth to speak, but he silenced her with a single, deadly look. "Get out. Now." She backed away, trembling, knowing there was no forgiveness for what she had done. Alexander turned back to Evelyn, but she was already walking toward the door. "Evelyn, please, stay. Let me make this right." She stopped, her back to him. "You cannot bring back the dead, Alexander. You cannot erase the nights I held her while she cried in pain, knowing I could not help her. I came here only because I needed the job. But now I have to leave before my heart breaks all over again." Tears streamed down Alexander's face as he took a step forward, his voice desperate. "Then let me help you live. Let me give you back the years we lost. Please. I cannot lose you again." Evelyn hesitated, her hands clenched tightly at her sides. The silence between them was suffocating, broken only by his quiet sobs. Finally, she whispered without turning around, "You lost me a long time ago." And with that, she walked out, leaving the billionaire alone in his empty mansion, surrounded by wealth, but poorer than he had ever been.